Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. I appreciate you guys very, very much. I also appreciate today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, sunny Lackawanna, just minutes away from Highmark Stadium. Some of the best wings, brick oven pizza, fish fries, burgers, beer, vibes, you name it. It is one of the premier places, in my humble opinion, in all of Western New York to go to for food, for vibes. Like I said, just a great time. A big supporter of this show. So make sure, please, you're in that area that you go out and support them as well. All right, this is our week 14 biggest takeaway episodes. I have watched the game film, not quite as much as I usually do or have hoped to. I'm going to watch it some more, but I've watched enough. I've also went through the PFF grades and analysis, and as always, 24 hours or so following the Bills game, I have my biggest takeaways from that game episode. I kind of like to sleep out a game, and I feel like I have more measured and thought out takes as opposed to the live pregame or postgame, I should say, instant reaction show that I do with Joe from Queens every week. Now, don't get me wrong, I love doing those, especially after a Bills win, but those are kind of like in the moment type deals. And sometimes you don't really see everything until you go back, you watch the game again, and then some things might pop out at you that you didn't know before, or you're thinking about some things, and once you watch the game, it really confirms what you initially thought. I'll say this much too. Last night, being Sunday night, a little more emotional in the post game. I think for the most part, you're going to get a lot less of that from me this game because I always try to have perspective when the Bills win or when they lose. And my mindset is this, folks, and I'm sure hopefully for a lot of you, it's the same. This was one game. Okay, this was one game. This was one loss. This felt due. The Bills had won 7 in a row. Sooner or later, you're going to go out and you're going to lose a game, and you're going to do it in a way that's going to leave you frustrated afterwards, for sure. I'm not surprised the Bills lost. Again, it's not easy to win in the NFL anywhere, and it's especially not easy to win when you go on the road. The Rams are a pretty damn good football team when healthy. And they started out the season shitty, but they got healthier and they've been really good of late. But again, you win 7 in a row and you kind of have that expectation that sooner or later you're going to get this. Again, did not expect it to go down the way it did. If you would have told me before the game the Bills were going to lose by one score, by 2 points, I would have been like, damn, good game. Not really surprised. But if you would have told me they lost in the fashion that they did, I'd be like, what? I mean, this was a defense coming in, the Bills defense, that had not allowed more than 7 points in the second half of a game 10 times in 12 games. And Sean McDermott has had a lot more good moments this season than he has late game in management collapses. So I kind of want to keep that perspective. Like, you hope that this was an anomaly. Defensive, special teams, coaching. Like, this was the exception, hopefully, and not the norm. And I think it's reasonable to have that expectation. And again, at the end of the day, the AFC East is already over. It's been over. Let's not lose sight of that. First and foremost, the Buffalo Bills, despite a 2-point loss against the Rams, guess what? They're still going to the playoffs. They still have at least one home game because they've won the division. The top seed is not dead, but it's on life support. But they're in great shape right now for the number 2 seed. And being the number 2 seed, which, it has not always mattered for the Bills, hasn't mattered the past couple of years, but I'll take my chances being a 2 every single year because that means you're hosting the wild card game. That means if you win that, you're hosting the divisional round, and you're only going on the road for an AFC Championship game, and that's if the top seed wins. And the way the Chiefs have been this year, that is no guarantee. So 1 seed might be, for the most part, I don't want to say out of play, but it's getting out of reach. But that's okay. That's okay. And again, generally speaking, I'm not really angry at this game. Certainly not as angry as I was in the moment, 45 minutes or so after it on Sunday because of the fashion that they lost. And before I get into, well, actually, I guess this is a specific takeaway. I just really, you know what? I'm going to tip my cap right now to the LA Rams, that offense at least anyway, because Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and especially Puka Nacua, those guys played absolutely out of their minds. Out of their minds. They are their top players. They are their stars. And they all played like it. You could add Kyren Williams to the mix as well. He only had 3 yards, per carry, but he did find the end zone twice. He was a factor as well. A guy who finds the end zone, a star player, and he was a star on Sunday as well. Those guys were awesome. They really were. I did not expect the offensive line to play as well as they did. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But anyway, they're not stars. I'm talking about the stars. The stars came out for the LA Rams. And I'll tell you what, were it not for Josh Allen, Puka Nacua was the best player on that field. And I might take it even one step further. I think Puka Nacua had the best performance that any player has had against the Buffalo Bills at any point this season. And I'm being dead ass serious as well. He just dominated, and I mean dominated, the Bills defense. 12 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown, of course. His receiving touchdown near the end of the game kind of, for all intents and purposes, put that game away. That tiptoe catch that he had on the sidelines, I think Rasul Douglas might have been in coverage, and wasn't bad coverage. I thought that ball was going 4 yards out of bounds. Like when I first saw it in real time, I thought both his feet were out maybe by a yard, but he managed to tiptoe that line before going out of bounds. It's one of the best catches you will ever see. And I'm not going to sit here and blame any one specific player in the Bills secondary, because if we're being completely honest, whether it was Rasul Douglas, whether it was Christian Benford, whether it was Taron Johnson, and we'll hit on all those guys in just a few here, but it doesn't matter who it was. Puka Nacua cooked everybody pretty evenly. Again, just an absolute dominating performance from him. Cooper Kupp was awesome as well. 5 catches for 92 yards. A great concentration touchdown catch where he basically trapped the ball on his thigh pad and reeled it in. He also had some great blocking on some screens. Could have won that, quite frankly, should have been a holding call on Puka Nacua's touchdown near the end of the game. He got away with that, but that's neither here nor there. Their receivers were awesome. The quarterback was awesome. That was vintage Matt Stafford. 22 hit 30, 320 yards. Of course, you're going to have a good opportunity to succeed when there's precious little pressure from the Bills defense. I mean, Matt Stafford, for big chunks of that game, could have had a picnic in the pocket. That we'll call it that. Picnic in the pocket, because that's what it was for Matthew Stafford. Just all day to throw the football for the most part, and he took advantage. And even when he had to make a high pressure throw under duress, or he only had a tight window to throw it in, he just made all the throws. He made all the throws. His receivers made all the catches. From a Rams perspective, this is everything you hope that team could be. They certainly were. And last but not least, they got a star coach too. I thought McVay was great. They had an answer on the offense for every single thing Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich did defensively. Everything. And I'll say this too. And we'll talk about Sean here in a second specifically, but I remember saying a couple times early in the season, like Sean McDermott just coached circles around Mike McDaniel, which he did. He did. Ditto for a handful of other teams as well. That was not the case on Sunday, man. That was not the case. I thought McVay and his staff coached circles around the Buffalo Bills. Straight up. Officiating was an issue, and I think there's some valid complaints. That false start should have been a false start on a Rab Havenstein. That's got to get called. I mean, it wasn't even close. They got away with it, and I believe that was a 4th and 5 play as well. Such a big play in the game. And then the Cooper Kupp play. So it's 3rd and 5, and the Bills desperately need to stop, and it's coming off the 2-minute warning, and the Bills bring a blitz. Stafford looks left, throws right, quick pass to Nakua. My initial thought was it was offensive pass interference because Kupp got to Jamarcus Ingram, who was in the game because Douglas got hurt, Rasul Douglas. He got to him before the ball did. But when you look at the replay, it was so close to the line of scrimmage that you could say it was at or even behind the line of scrimmage. If that's the case, behind the line, then it's not offensive pass interference. However, it absolutely was holding. It was absolutely holding. So it should have been at a minimum, if not OPI, that was holding. It should have been 3rd and 15 from like the 29-yard line, and that wasn't the case. Now, the way the Bills defense played, who the hell knows? The Rams probably converted anyway because the Bills just could not make a stop to save their life. But officiating was a problem, although you could also say, in fairness, the Bills got a couple calls that went their way as well. That pass interference that Amari Cooper got in the end zone near the end of the game, I thought that was ticky-tacky. I thought there were a couple calls that actually went the Bills' way that were ticky-tacky as well. But anyway, before we talk about the defense, the coaching, you gotta just sit there and marvel at what Josh Allen did. I mean, come on, man. I don't know what more a human being can do at the quarterback position to help his team win a football game than what we saw from Josh Allen. And that is going to be, by far, my biggest takeaway from this football game. It inspires, even in a loss, what he did just inspires so much confidence for this group going forward. Again, I don't know what more a man can do. 342 passing yards, 82 rushing yards, six total touchdowns, no turnovers, 0 turnovers. The first quarterback in the history of the NFL to throw for 3 touchdown passes and run for 3 touchdowns in the same game. And it feels like malpractice right now. It's negligence, complete negligence organizationally that Josh Allen did not wake up on Monday morning enjoying a win. It's just insane. I don't know when it comes to like AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and quite frankly, who gives a shit? But it is worth pointing out, I don't know how he doesn't win it, even though this team lost. Do you give it to a team that lost? I don't know. But he won it last week. He deserves it again this week. Just an unreal performance from him. And I really admired him almost to a point where it's like you're trying too hard to take bullets for your team when there's just no reason for it. That post-game press conference, all the things, all the reasons the Bills lost that game, and Josh Allen stands in front of the media and says he needs to do more to help. He needs to get into the end zone on that QB sneak at the end of the game. That he's blaming, he's critiquing himself. He's criticizing himself. He is like the anti-Aaron Rodgers. Let's just start there. Aaron Rodgers would have been pointing his finger at McDermott, the defense, you name it. Bobby Babbage, he's calling people out. Josh Allen just ain't that dude, man. He's not, and he's never going to be. And who doesn't love that about him? He goes out there and he has quite literally an historical performance, and he's putting this loss publicly anyway on himself. That's just incredible shit right there, man. It really, truly is. For the season, 32 touchdowns, total touchdowns he's got this year, and 6 turnovers. That's it. 6 turnovers for the season. 13 games, 6 turnovers. That's less than 1.5 turnover per game. I said on the show yesterday, I'm going to say it again. Kansas City fans, if they get a hold of this, they might lose their mind and think I'm being a homer. Think I'm being crazy and stupid. But I'm not. because I'm talking about right now in 2024. Josh Allen is the best player right now in the NFL. Period. He's the best player in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is an all-world quarterback, an all-timer. He's elite. He may go down as the greatest of all time when it's all said and done. His body of work might be better than Tom Brady before it's all over. He might win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. He might be the GOAT when it's all said and done. No question about it. And Josh Allen hasn't won shit. I get that. That's what you're going to say back at me if you don't agree with what I'm saying. But I want you to listen to the context. I'm not talking about a body of work. I'm talking about just straight up being the best player in the entire NFL right now. It is Josh Allen. It has to be Josh Allen. The MVP race is over. Forget about the MVP race. Forget about MVP. I'm just talking about straight up best player in the NFL right now. It's Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen. If it's not Josh Allen, you tell me. If Josh Allen's not the best player in the NFL, you tell me who is. I'd love to know. I'd love to know. Offensively, I'll say this before we get to the coaching. All the bad shit will be coming up after the break. But one more thing here. The offense also, I mean, Josh is Superman, but, he had a nice little cast of characters helping him out. It's not like he did everything himself on offense. Khalil Shakir was awesome. He was awesome in Los Angeles. On the post-game show yesterday, Joe from Queens had a really good take, and I had never really thought about it before. He said that Khalil Shakir reminds him a lot of Andre Reid. And at first I didn't get it. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Because Andre Reid was an outside guy, although he did work the middle of the field very, very well. But, Khalil Shakir is a slot guy. But the more I thought about it, it's a good point. Like, Andre Reid was deceptively fast, shifty, and really good at yards after the catch, breaking tackles. And Khalil Shakir is becoming incredible at doing all those things. I called Khalil Shakir before the season. I said my player comp was Cole Beasley. I said he's Cole Beasley, but with another gear. And with respect to Cole Beasley, who was a really good slot receiver at what he did, calling him Cole Beasley with another gear at this point is like selling Khalil Shakir short. Because his yards after catch is just out of this world. He had 5 catches for $106 in this game. That 51-yard touchdown, again, where he takes a short pass, makes 2 people miss, just runs through. He didn't even make a miss. He just ran through the tackles. He was not going to get stopped. You keep waiting for him to get tackled by somebody, and nobody makes the play, and he goes into the end zone. Bam, 51-yard touchdown. This is a big play machine. He also had that 34-yarder down the sidelines when he got absolutely popped by his safety. Knew he was going to get popped by that safety, and still held on to the football. That's some great shit right there. Khalil Shakir is unbelievable. I said the Rams offensive players were playing out of their mind. So Khalil Shakir, and he's been doing it for most of this season. And it feels like he's not even getting called upon enough. Considering how good he is, it almost feels like, why is he not getting the football more? But then you look at his pace for the season, and he's on pace right now, and there's still 4 games left for 85 catches for 961 yards. And that's despite missing a full game and another game where he was just hobbled and he couldn't do anything. He got 105 targets, or he's on pace, I should say, for 105 targets. That's really good, but he's so talented and so clutch, and so you could count on him that it feels like he should actually be more. So anyway, he was amazing, and Amari Cooper was really good too. He had that unreal catch down the sideline, which is funny because you could still tell that Amari Cooper is relatively new to this organization. I mean, he's been here for a while now since the Tennessee game, but he's also was hurt, so he missed a couple of weeks with that. You could still get a sense that Josh Allen and Amari Cooper aren't fully on the same page right now. But to have 6 catches for 95 yards when you're still not really completely fully on the same page, and again, he also had a pass interference penalty where if he doesn't get interfered with, although personally, again, I didn't really think it was a penalty, but he could have scored a touchdown there. He's just a great player, and he's going to matter in January. You'd think they could get on the same page, but even now, when they're not on the same page, you still got 6 catches for 95 yards. And this is starting to sound like a broken record too, but Matt Collins, 4 catches, 57 yards, team leading 5th touchdown catch of the season, a great catch too, great focus. I mean, it was a hell of a throw from Josh Allen, but he's got a hand there trying to knock the ball down. He comes away with it. He also on that Ty Johnson screen pass that went for a touchdown. Matt Collins, along with, it was McGovern and Edwards, and then Matt Collins. Great blocks to spring Ty Johnson for that touchdown. So Matt Collins just proves to be so valuable to this football team. And I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you. People were disappointed that Keon Coleman missed another game. I was a little bit disappointed as well, but I'll tell you what. I mean, you got Amari Cooper out there. We talked about Shakir, and you got 3 receiver sets out there. Is Keon Coleman really going to be much more effective than what you're getting from Matt Collins right now between the catches, the touchdowns, and especially the blocking? I mean, I'm good with Matt Collins being out there. He's really won me over. Like I said, that block on the screen really helped set, spring Ty Johnson free, which, by the way, Ty Johnson, the Bills' 2 running back screens that both worked. One went for a 14-yarder, and then bam, the 41-yard touchdown to him. And this was a game where the Bills couldn't run the ball. Like, the success for the Bills this season has been balance. You run the ball effectively, you pass the ball effectively, you got a nice little balance, and it adds up to a lot of points. Well, in this game, at least the running backs, they couldn't run the ball for shit. They didn't try to run the ball for shit either. They only ran 7 times. Cook, Johnson, Davis combined 7 carries, 21 yards. And again, who gives a shit? Because the way Josh Allen was slinging the ball and running when he had to take off, it didn't matter, folks. It did not matter. Anyway, all right, those are the good vibes for the Buffalo Bills. The rest of the shit's about to go out the window because when we get back, I got takeaways on Sean McDermott. I got takeaways on special teams, and I especially got some takeaways on a brutal effort from the Bills defense. All right, we are back going over my biggest Week 14 takeaways. A gut-wrenching, I mean, it's fair to call it that, a gut-wrenching 44-42 loss on the road to the LA Rams in a game where you won't see Josh Allen. You won't see any quarterback play better than what you saw from Josh Allen. But it goes to waste on this day. Sean McDermott, look, there's a lot of people defending him on Monday on social media from the haters, saying that he's done a great job. This is just one game. They're still 10-3. None of that's wrong. And I want to be clear on that. None of that is wrong. And I also want to be clear about something else. A lot of the things that we could bitch about with this game, we are bitching about, rightfully so, including me right now. I also don't think the Bills win this football game if Sean McDermott declines that 3rd down penalty in the 4th quarter to make it 4th or 7. I think if he declines it, the Rams are going for it on 4th and 7, just like they went for it on 4th and 6. That 1 yard is not going to make them not go for it. And the way this defense played, they were getting it no matter what. I think if Sean McDermott doesn't burn that timeout late in the game, I don't think it matters because, you run 20 seconds off the clock. I don't have faith in this defense to make a stop, and not on this day anyway, no matter what. So, and even if they somehow did, the odds weren't good anyway. The problem to a lot of people, and I get it, I don't completely agree, but was the quarterback sneak call, not necessarily the timeout afterwards. It pissed me off then, and it still pisses me off now. But again, I want to be clear. I don't think the Bills win the game if Sean McDermott doesn't call that timeout. I also was really pissed off that they punted late in the 2nd quarter on 4th and 2 from their own 41. And a lot of people are like, well, the way they're playing defense, you couldn't trust them to be able to make a stop. I'm like, yeah, I agree. That's why you got to score every time you have the football. Quite literally, the Bills had to score every time they had the football to win this game because the defense couldn't do anything. So I was pissed off about the decision to not go for it on 4th and 2, even though it was late, under a minute in the first half. Again, no, I still don't think it matters in that they win the game. But all that said, a lot of the anger, the vitriol towards McDermott right now, I think it's justified because what we saw on Sunday, it's a story we've seen too many times. We've seen this movie too many times with Sean McDermott. It's these things in the close losses that make you scream at the TV, what in the hell are you doing? What is going on here? Why are you folding and making the worst decisions the biggest times? I don't get it. And I want to go back to, a point Joe from Queens made this last night. And I thought it was a great point about accepting the penalty and making it 3rd and 16 instead of declining and having it be 4th and 6. It's not even that I hate the decision, because in Sean McDermott's mind, it's 3rd and 16. You've knocked them out of field goal range, or they're at the very most, they're on the fringe of a very long field goal. So you get a stop, and you might be, 4th and 12 or 4th and 16, an incomplete pass or pressure or something like that. He throws it away, and now, bam, you got a punt, or you're going to try a very long field goal. No matter what, the Bills are going to get the ball back. At worst, they're down 6, at worst. So I could get behind McDermott doing that. But here's what I don't understand. It's 3rd and 16, and you just allow the Rams an easy, free 11 yards. Stafford dumps the ball off to Parkinson, and there's nobody within 5 yards, because the only thing the Bills defense cared about on that play was not letting whoever caught the ball get a first down. That's it. They just let him catch the ball, and then they go swarming to him in front of the chains after. But what you did by, calling such a soft defense is you just gave them a free 11 yards to make it 4th and 5 anyway. You made it 4th and 5. They actually lost a yard by not taking the penalty, or by taking the penalty, I should say. Make it make sense to me, because that's the part that I just don't understand, the mindset, the philosophy of that defense. If that's what you were going to do, and you were just going to play a soft zone and give them a free 10 to 12 yards underneath, what the hell is the point? What is the point of accepting the penalty as opposed to declining it? And again, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, 4th and 8, I still don't have any faith that the Bills defense was going to make a stop. They gave up 38 points, man, but I don't get it, man. It feels like too often with the Bills in these kind of games, coaching decisions just are detrimental. And again, does it change the way the game ends? Surely not. But ice it on the cake at the very end. You get a 3 and out. It ain't going to matter. There's only a handful of seconds left. But you got 9 guys on the field. Like, you can't even rush the punter and try to have a miracle block or something like that, because you only got 9 guys on the field. How does that happen? You know the situation. You got to stop them 3 times. They're going to have to punt. And you only have 9 guys on the field. What is that with coaching? That's coaching, man. That is coaching. And Sean McDermott's the CEO. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Matthew Smiley's a special teams coach. He's got to make sure 11 guys are out there. And you're right. You're right. But Sean McDermott's a CEO. He oversees everything. He's responsible when something like that goes wrong. Just bad coaching. This was a badly coached game for the Buffalo Bills. Do they win if he doesn't make some of those decisions? Probably not. But you know what? Don't hurt your team. Don't be a liability. And that's what he was. Defense. I feel like we went a long way into the show just now to be getting to some specific parts of this defense, because this is the reason why they lost the game. It's not coaching. It's not special teams, though they both hurt them. It's defense. This was one of the more pathetic defensive efforts you'll ever see from the Buffalo Bills. Basically, the Bills brought their January defense when they lose in the playoffs. They brought that to December. That's what we saw on Sunday. I mean, the Rams' drives, just incredible. 12 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. 10 plays, 65 yards, field goal. 12 plays, 78 yards, touchdown. End of the first half, just to get in the locker room there. 11 plays, 76 yards, touchdown. 7 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. A 3 and out, punt. Hey, let's do a party. The Bills forced a punt. Hey, that's it. That's it for the game. Next possession, 11 plays, 71 yards, touchdown. And then end of the game, you run the clock out. The Rams had 6 touchdown drives in this game of at least 65 yards against a defense that was at full strength. You want to go back to the Baltimore game where the Bills played like shit completely on defense and offense. You could have some excuses. Taron Johnson did not play that game. Terrell Bernard, neither of them played that game. You go to the Houston game where, for the first half anyway, they sucked. No Taron Johnson. I think Ed Oliver might have been hurt that game too, from what I can remember. But they've had injuries. All 11 starters were out there, all of them. And they had all their depth available as well. There was nothing literally on defense in terms of injuries. Nothing. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Just absolutely pathetic, man. Ed Oliver, absolutely irrelevant yet again. And people here say I hate on Ed Oliver. I hear it all the time. Why you hating on Ed so much? I actually disagree with you. I think Ed Oliver gets off too easy. Most of you let Ed Oliver off the hook way too easy. This is the 9th overall pick of the draft, a guy you gave a 4-year, $68 million extension to. Now, I know that's not huge money compared to some other defensive tackles in the league, but it's enough that you need to matter. And he just doesn't matter way too often. 53 snaps in this game, folks. 2 tackles. He had 1 decent pass rush. A 42.0 PFF run grade. A 28.4 PFF tackle grade. Just crazy, man. He is the 18th highest paid defensive tackle right now in the NFL. I looked it up for the show. He is paid to be a star player, okay? Maybe not necessarily a superstar player, but he's paid to be at least a star player. And he's giving you basically Tim Settle production. Ed Oliver, for the most part, has basically been Tim Settle. And not even Tim Settle, who's been good this year. I'm talking about Tim Settle for the Bills, who barely ever did shit for 2 years. That's it. Ed Oliver has 1 sack this season. 1 sack this season. That's it. That's it. He's had 1 game, or I should say 1 tackle or fewer, like 7 times this year. And again, I know stats don't tell the whole story, especially when it comes to defensive tackles, but I mean, come on, man. Ed Oliver has not had a sack since week 2 in Miami on a 4th down stop on Tua. He's not had a sack since then. And when you're an undersized defensive tackle like that, you know you're not supposed to be stout against the run. That's not what he's in this defense for. But you're supposed to be able to wreak havoc, pressure the pocket, get sacks, make life uneasy for the quarterback, and you're barely seeing any of that shit from Ed Oliver. He's had 2 good games this year, too. He played great against Miami, played great against the Chiefs. But then you get too many games like this where he's lousy. Straight up lousy. PFF, 141 eligible defensive tackles who've played at least 20% of their team snaps. Ed Oliver is 111th in run defense. That's how bad he's been. PFF grades defensively. He's 137 out of 145 in tackling. That means there's only 7 other defensive tackles in the NFL with a lower tackling grade than Ed Oliver. Yes, he's 22nd in pressure grade out of 147. But guess what? That's only produced, again, 1 sack this season. He's good a handful of games a year. But he's just not that good, man. He's just not that good. Time and time again, we keep going back to this. It's ludicrous to consider this guy one of your star players at this point. It's crazy. He's not. He's not. So between Daquan Jones' age and Ed Oliver's just flat out inconsistency, I have zero doubt right now, and I know people hate hearing this shit, and I don't really want to get into offseason talk, but I can't help this with this comment. It's got to be priority number 1 this offseason. It's not close either. The Bills have to get better in the middle of this defense. And there's no solution right now because there's nothing you can do. The trade deadline's come and gone. They got to find a way to get better in the middle. Stopping the run, pressuring the quarterback up the middle, or this is going to be another early exit in the playoffs. That's just what it is. You cannot win if the middle of your defense is a liability. And I'm at a loss right now for people who will still make up excuses, pop on some game film, show the 2 to 3 plays where he matters per game, and say Ed Oliver is fine. He's not. He's not. Ed Oliver is an okay player. That's it. The end. The end. Now, it wasn't just him. Lots of guys on this team on defense just didn't show up. Taron Johnson is one of the best DBs in the league. One of my favorite players in the league. Oh man, it was smoke city with him on Sunday. I mean, he was getting cooked left, right, all over the place in the slot. Just a terrible game for him. He was targeted 11 times, gave up 8 catches, 77 yards, just had a 45.0 overall grade for this game. It was bad. He did not play well. It was also a nightmare of a game for Rasul Douglas, who I hope doesn't have a serious knee injury that keeps him out because he got hurt late. But even before that, again, 3 catches he gave up for 77 yards. He also had 2 penalties, a third that got declined because even when he had a pass interference, Cooper Kupp still reeled it in anyway. But it was a nightmare game for Rasul Douglas. And I'll tell you what, he's been their best defensive player almost all season, or at least one of the top 2. But where the hell was Greg Rousseau this game? Where was Greg? Where was Groot? This is the first time all year to me where he was completely MIA. And that sucks because, as we learned on Sunday, the Bills really, really need Groot to be great, or at least good. At least good. And he was nothing close to good. Played 58 snaps, 75% of the snaps on this defense, and he did nothing. Nothing. 1 assisted tackle. That's it. 0 impact. Literally nothing. Bad time for Groot to have a really bad game. It's just one good day for really anyone on this defense. I'll tell you one guy who did play well, and especially watching it back. Von Miller. Von Miller has somehow, in his late age, become really good at run defense. It's really weird. They did really a couple nice run stops, and a couple pressures as well. Stafford didn't have many, but Von Miller, that's about it. I mean, dude, it got to a point where even Christian Benford, he got beat more on Sunday, I think, than he did all season. He gave up 3 catches for 43 yards. Now, I'm not going to go as far to call him awful because he had 2 really, really nice pass breakups as well. He's still a great player, just not the best game for him. AJ Epinesa was pretty atrocious on the edge. In fact, during the halftime show on Fox, they singled him out, losing the edge twice, once for a touchdown, or actually twice for a touchdown. Just an atrocious performance from AJ Epinesa. I thought Taylor Rapp, who's played well this year, I thought he was bad. Damar Hamlin got absolutely cooked by Robinson. He got lucky there with the penalty. But penalty on both sides, actually, to offset and wipe the play away. It is what it is, man. Dwayne Carter, he returned, gave him nothing, 24 snaps, just a big nothing burger for him. Matt Milano, I still feel like he's kind of like where I think you should expect him to be. Well, he had grade-wise, he was awful. 38.9 overall grade PFF. Charged with 3 missed tackles, only had a 26 tackle grade. It's a dilemma. And in fact, don't want to get into it today. I'm going to save this for tomorrow. I'll have a little more of a deeper conversation with this about Matt Milano with Matt Warren. But I feel Dorian Williams is a better player right now. I don't think there's any question about that. But Matt Milano's ceiling, if he can reach it, is higher. Like, he's a guy who can win you a playoff game with an impactful play or 2 because he's Matt Milano, an all-pro caliber linebacker. But the downside is, and we've only had a couple weeks, we don't know yet, but is he 2022 Trey White? Or is he 2023 Von Miller, where him being on the field was just a huge, huge liability to this defense? I don't know. I'm not ready to say that right now. And I'm still willing to give Matt Milano at least another 2 to 3 weeks. But if we're still seeing the same Matt Milano that we saw on Sunday, and it's going to be week 16 or week 17, I'm strongly considering going back to Dorian Williams when the play. It's not about feelings. It's about production. And Dorian Williams right now, at least anyway, I think is a better linebacker. But again, if you can get Matt back, and I'm not complaining about him starting, I would have did the same thing if I'm Sean McDermott. You got to see what you got. And you also can't go, just 2 games and say, all right, well, Matt Milano's washed. He's cooked. That's ridiculous to do that. But for 4 or 5 games in and he's not looking any better, then you definitely start to have some questions. One last thing about the defense, you're going to look at me like, duh, okay, Pat. But when it comes to Damar Hamlin, again, at times he's been pretty good. Other times he's been out there, and other guys and fine. He's not killing you. But maybe the way this defense looked, maybe Micah Hyde being out there, he just rally the troops or something, keep them together. I'm still going to stick by my take that I would not be surprised if by the end of the season, like week 16, maybe week 17, he gets to start and we see what he's got. And maybe Micah Hyde is on that field for the playoffs. Now, again, I don't think Micah Hyde would have did shit to help this defense on this day. Just a point that I want to throw out, though. I'm still not completely sold on Damar Hamlin starting over Micah Hyde a handful of weeks from now when all the chips, are on the table. Special teams hurt the Bills really, really bad again. It's been the special teams have been more lousy than good this year, but it hasn't really mattered much. Like, special teams blunders haven't affected a game. They haven't lost the game or had to really even contribute to a loss because of a special teams blunder. But that was not the case here. Reid Ferguson, who's been as solid throughout his career as a long snapper as the Bills have ever had, but man, he just got absolutely trucked on that blocked punt, which was a block punt for a touchdown. And that was a huge play, man. That gave the Rams a 17-7 lead. And it just felt like after that, the Bills were chasing the rest of the day. You know, the offense really ramped up and you couldn't stop them. Conversely, the defense couldn't get a stop. But falling down those two scores really, really hurt the Bills. I know there's a lot of people calling for Smiley, and I completely get it. Again, 9 guys for a block punt, you know, at the end of the game is just inexcusable. But that play itself, I don't know how you can be mad at Smiley. That's just man on man. That's just Reid Ferguson getting beat, man. It completely is. All right, we're going to get out of here. I'll say this, though. Again, my final takeaway from this game, just the Bills right now. Oddly enough, I'm kind of more confident in the Buffalo Bills right now, even though they lost, than I was before the game. And that's because it felt to me like, all right, you could stop the Bills' running game, and then maybe this offense might be in some trouble. But this offense proved on Sunday against, by the way, the Rams' defense is none special this season, but that defensive line, that pass rush has been one of the better ones in the league. They got a great group of young pass rushers. Their pass rush pressure percentage was near the top of the NFL coming in. It might even been number 1. No factor whatsoever. But this was an offense that proved it could be unstoppable, and they did so without Keon Coleman and without Dalton Kincaid. Just, you know what? You can't run the ball. You're not trying to run the ball. We're going to let our quarterback, the conditions are right. You're in a dome. We're just going to sling that shit all over. We're going to let Josh run when the pocket breaks down or the lane is there. That's what we're going to do. And this offense was utterly unstoppable. Who doesn't love that if you're a Bills fan? That gives me confidence that, hey, if the defense shits the bed to a certain extent anyway, or if you can't run the football, whatever it is, that, hey, we got to rely on Josh Allen to be Superman and the passing offense. I feel more confident now than I ever have that this offense can get it done. I feel confident that this offense can put up whatever it needs to put up offensively, no matter who they're playing. And I love to see that. That gives me a lot more confidence going forward. And also, I have to think that with as much quality talent on that other side of the ball, I have to think this defense can't be any worse. You cannot be any worse. It is virtually impossible for this defense to be any worse than it was in LA. And Nakua, Cup, Stafford, that tandem. And by the way, speaking of Nakua, guys, say his name 100 times, you think I remember it. But anyway, those guys, that tandem, I don't think he got that in the AFC. I really don't. Other than maybe Miami on a great day with Tua Hill and who the hell's the Jalen Waddle. But here's the thing. I don't think Miami's making the playoffs. And even if they do, the Bills just know how to play them. The Bills own them. But I don't think you're going to see any receiver tandem in the playoffs in the AFC on the level of what the Rams had. And again, a veteran quarterback who was just dropping dimes, dime after dime after dime after dime, just all day long, Matthew Stafford. I don't think this defense could play that bad again. I really don't. Maybe they learn from this. I don't know what they learned, because to me, it's not about scheme. To me, it wasn't about zone versus man, because they didn't play good in either way. No matter what they did, it didn't work. To me, it's just man on man. That's all it is. Ed Oliver's got to be better. Daquan Jones has to be better. AJ Bonesa has to be better. Greg Rousseau has to be better. That depth on the front four has to be better. Period. Beat your guy. Win a battle. Win a one-on-one. They didn't do any of that on Sunday. I just feel like they can't be any worse than that. So that gives me a little bit of confidence. And then the second seed, it still feels very likely to me. And again, I'm more confident that this offense can at least come close to replicating what they did on Sunday than the defense coming out and just being straight up that useless again. That's just how I feel about this game right now. the takeaways from this week, and it's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, on tomorrow's show, I'm going to have Matt Warren from SB Nation. He's going to join me. We're going to get into more detail about the Matt Milano dilemma. What do you do with Matt Milano? How do you manage that? Do you start getting Dorian Williams some more work out there? We'll discuss that. We'll talk about Ed Oliver a little bit more, plenty more on the heels of this. And we'll start to look forward to a big game again on Sunday. And if you're thinking one seed, it has become must win against the Detroit Lions. But anyway, all that, plenty more coming up with Matt Warren tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys then.